Okay. All right. So everybody's written their choices down. Okay. Can I have a volunteer?
I'll go.
You're the VP, so
Okay.
I'll defer.
My first choice continues to be the Gazette Black. I now understand why my mother said never mention a body organ in a public meeting. But thanks, dear. In spite of the fact that the situation there has changed a little, actually it's changed with every site, but as far as the parking, I think there are options still available to us, and I think the important thing is there are options that we would control. So I have less concern about that. That affects the cost. Also the fact that I think negotiations, we should, as Susan said, we should consider they're still open. So that causes less concern for me about the cost. The aesthetics of the site are important to me, and Bob and I had the opportunity to meet with Terry Pitts a couple weeks ago and just have a very preliminary conversation about willingness to connect the buildings and to start and to do some cooperative programming if we were in that situation. And the willingness, again, to physically connect those. And I would much rather spend money on a skywalk connecting the library and a museum than I would connecting the library to Parquet. And I think, there hasn't been any scientific instrument, at least for me, to determine what the majority of the community wants. If you go to the Gazette poll, it looks pretty clearly like it's Emerald Sites. If I judge it against the people who talked to me directly, who've emailed me, who've stopped me in places, it's a location next to Green Square Park. And so to me this just seems like a good solution that addresses the majority of the, not maybe a majority of the community's concerns, because I don't know what that is. Pardon me. Not the concerns of a majority of the community, I don't know that, but I think a majority of the community's concerns. That's my speech.
Okay. I wanted to start out by saying we've heard from so many people who have talked about pricing. We've heard from this whole group of people who said don't make your decision based on the price tag. And we've heard from all the people who've talked about our fiduciary responsibility with this. And I just wanted to emphasize that we've gone through project costs, we've gone through operational costs, we've gone through property taxes. None of those are dollar figures that we are not paying attention to. And I feel like just based on what we've heard from people, just having that out there is a good thing to be said. So one of the things is I've heard from different people, and it's a great problem. I guess that the two bride possibilities, it's a great place to be. I talked to John Dusick, who's a property owner, and it was something that he said that kind of has stuck with me a little bit, and that I keep going back to, and that is, he was talking about, not about just the core. He says, the core is maybe not as big of an issue to me, because I'm putting my real estate hat, and I'm an old real estate guy, and it's what's the best and highest use of the property. And so one of the questions that's, and I've heard this from a number of people, is that First Avenue property, as much as it has a lower property tax impact right now, the opportunity for what the property taxes on that site can be are amazing. And as a site that has high visibility, as a site that would be much more advantageous from a commercial development standpoint than the other ones that we're offering. That's kind of what stuck with me as far as coming to the conclusion that I'm going to stay where I was before and stay with the Gazette as my first choice. And I guess I really appreciated the opportunity to talk to the St. Martin's folks, to hear what they're planning, and it's some great plans, and if we end up there, we will build a great library. But as I guess a resident of this town, the opportunities that they have described is what they're envisioning there. And based on hearing from other people who are downtown people too, there's some great opportunities there. So that being said, I didn't want to have my opinion be against something. I wanted to say why I'm for the Gazette. And I jotted some notes. So if we locate at the Gazette site, the newspaper intends to stay in Cedar Rapids, thereby continuing to contribute to our tax base. So that addresses that $111 versus $40,000. You all don't have access to this right now, but the letter with the site terms that we have says the Gazette's intent would be to relocate and maintain its operating facilities within Cedar Rapids, which with much of its workforce remaining within the central business district. Another issue, according to the real estate experts we've heard from, that existing KCRG and Gazette buildings are functionally obsolete. So it's not that you're taking a real viable building off, away from other commercial entities. I really like the option of the surface parking. I know that doesn't get us to where we need. I know we were looking at 315, but if you look between 185 and 205 spots are available to us at a surface rate, that's way more than we had at the old library. And I like the idea that staff could park in a parking ramp a block away and make use of an existing infrastructure. Looking at the dollar figures, we heard this at our brown bag on December 31st about the cost of maintaining a structured parking. So, and the emphasis on that we shouldn't minimize what that cost would be. So I like the idea of being able to have a flat surface parking lot and have it be, I guess, less creepy, what's the word? And also just easier to maintain. You know, I was approached at a basketball game. If you knew where we were putting the intermodal, would that make a difference? Well, the Gazette site, from what they're talking about as a proposed site for the intermodal, is, you know, a block and a half away. So that's a positive attribute. I agree with Bob about the possibilities with the Cedar Rapids Museum of Art, and my heart, it makes me sing to think about the Carnegie Library. I like that it's adjacent to Green Square Park. I also like that the site conforms to the city's urban planning recommendations. By locating there, we are an asset to the vision that's been adopted by the city and is currently informing post-flood decisions. And I like that the site is cost competitive. So those are my bullet points. And I agree. We'll make a great library wherever we end up, but that's how I ended up in the middle block.